Hi Munchkins, welcome back to chapter 15 of The Wizard of Oz. Yesterday, or the last chapter I should say, we ended with all good stuff. The winged monkeys came and took the four main characters back to the land of Oz. So if you remember, they were sort of stuck in Winky Land. There's no yellow brick road in Winky Land to lead them to the Wizard of Oz. And so, or the Emerald City, I should say. And so they didn't really know what to do. They asked the Queen of the Field Mice, and she said, well, you've got the golden cap on, Dorothy. Call the winged monkeys. And we remembered Dorothy had no idea what the golden cap was for. And then she looked inside and saw the magic words. So now here they are back at the Emerald City, waiting to get what they were promised. Chapter 15, The Discovery of Oz the Terrible. The four travelers walked up to the great gate of the Emerald City and rang the bell. After ringing several times, it was opened by the same guardian of the gate that they had met before. "What? Are you back again?" he asked in surprise. "Well, do you not see us?" answered the Scarecrow. "Well, I thought you had gone to visit the Wicked Witch of the West." "Well, we did visit her," said the Scarecrow. "And she let you go again?" asked the man in wonder. "Well, no, but she could not really help it, for she is now melted," explained the Scarecrow. "Melted? Well, that is good news indeed," said the man. "And who melted her?" "It was Dorothy," said the lion gravely. "Oh, good gracious!" exclaimed the man, and he bowed very low to Dorothy indeed. Then he led them into his little room and locked the spectacles from the great box on their eyes, just as he had done before. Afterward, they passed on through the gate into the Emerald City, and when the people heard from the guardian of the gate that they had melted the Wicked Witch of the West, they all gathered around the travelers and followed them in a great crowd to the Palace of Oz. The soldier with the green whiskers was still on guard before the door, but he let them in at once, and they were again met by the beautiful green girl, who showed each of them to his old room at once, so they might rest until the great Oz was ready to see them. The soldier had the news, of course, carried straight to Oz that Dorothy and the other travelers had come back again after destroying the Wicked Witch. But Oz made no reply. They thought the great wizard would send for them at once, but he did not. They had no word from him the next day, nor the next day, nor the next. And the waiting was tiresome and wearing, and at last they grew vexed that Oz should treat them in such a poor fashion after sending them to undergo such hardships and slavery from the witch. So the Scarecrow at last asked the green girl to take another message to Oz, saying if he did not let them in to see him, they would call the winged monkeys to help them and find out whether he would keep his promises or not. Well, when the wizard was given that message, he was so frightened that he sent word for them to come to the throne room at 4 minutes after 9 o'clock the next morning. He had once met the winged monkeys in the land of the West, and he did not wish to meet them again. The four travelers passed a sleepless night, each thinking of the gift Oz had promised to bestow upon him. Dorothy fell asleep only once, and then she dreamed she was in Kansas, where Auntie Em was telling her how glad she was to have her little girl home again. Promptly at 9 o'clock the next morning, the green-whiskered soldier came to them, and 4 minutes later, they all went into the throne room of the great Oz. Of course, each one of them expected to see the wizard in the shape that he had taken before, and they were all greatly surprised when they looked about and saw no one in the room. They kept close to the door and close to one another, for the stillness of the empty room was more dreadful than any of the forms they had seen Oz take. Presently they heard a voice, seeming to come from somewhere near the top of the great domed ceiling, and it said solemnly, I am Oz, the Great and Terrible. Why do you seek me? They looked again in every part of the room, and then seeing no one, Dorothy asked, well, where are you? I am everywhere, answered the voice. But to the eyes of common mortals, I am invisible. I will now seat myself upon my throne so that you may converse with me. Indeed, the voice seemed just then to come straight from the throne itself. So they walked toward it and stood in a row while Dorothy said, we have come to claim our promise, O Oz. What promise? Asked Oz. Will you promise to send me back to Kansas when the Wicked Witch was destroyed? Said the girl. And you promise to give me some brains, said the Scarecrow. And you promise to give me a heart, said the Tin Woodman. And you promise to give me courage, said the Cowardly Lion. Is the Wicked Witch really destroyed? Asked the voice, and Dorothy thought she heard it tremble a little. Yes, she answered. I melted her with a bucket of water. Oh, dear me, said the voice. How sudden. Well, come back to me tomorrow, for I must have some time to think it over. No, you've had plenty of time already, said the Tin Woodman angrily. Yeah, we shan't wait any longer, said the Scarecrow. You must keep your promises to us, exclaimed Dorothy. The lion thought it might be as well to frighten the wizard, so he gave a large, loud roar, which was so fierce and dreadful that Toto jumped away from him in alarm and tipped over the big screen that had stood in the corner. As it fell with a crash, they looked that way, and the next moment all of them were filled with wonder, for they saw standing in just the spot where the screen had hidden a little old man with a bald head and a wrinkled face, who seemed to be as surprised as they were. The Tin Woodman, raising his axe, rushed towards the little man and cried out, "Who are you?" I am Oz, the Great and Terrible," said the little man in a trembling voice. "But please don't strike me, please don't, and I'll do anything you want me to do." Our friends all looked at him in great surprise and dismay. "What? I thought Oz was a great head," said Dorothy. "And I thought Oz was a lovely lady," said the Scarecrow. "And I thought Oz was the terrible beast," said the Tin Woodman. So here they are. And because the lion decided to roar, little Toto went running. And he sort of knocked over this fake wall that this little old man was hiding behind. And that is the wizard. "And I thought Oz was a ball of fire," exclaimed the lion. "Oh, no, you are all wrong," said the little man meekly. "Oh, I have been playing make-believe." "Make-believe?" cried Dorothy. "Are you not a great wizard?" "Oh, hush, dear. Don't speak so loud or you'll be overheard and I shall be ruined. No, I'm supposed to be a great wizard." "Well, aren't you?" she asked. "No, not a bit of it, my dear. I'm just a common man." "Well, you're more than that," said the Scarecrow in a grieved tone. "You're a humbug." "Oh, exactly so," declared the little man, rubbing his hands together as if it pleased him. "I am a humbug." "Well, this is terrible," said the Tin Woodman. "How shall I ever get my heart?" "Or I my courage," asked the lion. "Or I my brains," said the Scarecrow, wiping the tears from his eyes with his coat sleeve. "Oh, my dear friends," said Oz, "I pray you not to speak of these little things. Oh, think of me. Think of the terrible trouble I am in at being found out." "Well, doesn't anyone else know that you're a humbug?" asked Dorothy. "No, no one knows it but you four and myself," replied Oz. "I fooled everyone for so long that I thought I shall never be found out. Oh, it was a great mistake ever letting you into the throne room. Usually I will not ever see my subjects, so they really believe I'm something terrible." "But I don't understand," said Dorothy in bewilderment. "How was it you appeared to me as a big, great head?" "Oh, that's one of my tricks," answered Oz. "Step this way and I'll tell you about it." He led the way to a small chamber in the rear of the throne room, and they all followed him. He pointed to one corner, in which lay the great head, made out of many thicknesses of paper and a carefully painted face. "Oh, I hung it from a ceiling by the wire," said Oz. "I stood behind the screen and I pulled a thread to make the eyes move and the mouth open." "Well, how about the voice?" she inquired. "Oh, I'm a ventriloquist," said the little man. "I can throw the sound of my voice wherever I wish, so you thought it was coming out of the head. Here are the other things I used to deceive you." He showed the Scarecrow the dress and the mask he had worn when he had appeared as the lovely lady, and the Tin Woodman saw his terrible beast was nothing more than a lot of animal skins all sewn together. And as for the ball of fire, that false wizard had hung that from the ceiling. It was just a ball of cotton, with oil poured upon it to burn fiercely. "Really," said the Scarecrow, "you ought to be ashamed of yourself for being such a humbug." "Oh, I certainly am," answered the little man sorrowfully. "But it was the only thing I could do. Sit down, please. There are plenty of chairs, and I'll tell you my story." So they sat down and listened while he told the following tale. "I was born in Omaha." "Omaha? Why, that isn't very far from Kansas," cried Dorothy. So he is actually from the United States, where Dorothy is from. So if I pull down our map of the United States, you'll remember, let's see if I can turn you a little bit. There we go. So Dorothy was from Kansas right here. Well, Omaha is right in this state named Nebraska, right above Kansas. So the wizard actually came from the United States of America also and ended up in this amazing place called Oz. So that is definitely different. So he's actually not a wizard. He's not magic. He's not a witch. He's not from this land at all. He's like Dorothy. "No, but it's far from here," the wizard said, shaking his head. "When I grew up, I became a ventriloquist, and I was very well trained by a great master. I can make the sound of any bird or beast." Suddenly he meowed just like a kitten that Toto pricked up his ears and looked everywhere to find the cat. "After a time," continued Oz, "I tired of that, and I became a balloonist." "What's a balloonist?" asked Dorothy. "Well, it's a man who goes up in a balloon on circus day, so to draw a big crowd of people together and get them to pay for the circus," he explained. "Oh," she said. "Well, one day I went up in the balloon and the ropes got twisted so I couldn't come down again. And there I went up above the clouds so far that some air struck me and it carried me many, many miles away. For a day and a night I traveled through the air, and on the morning of the second day I awoke and found the balloon floating over a strange and beautiful country. Well, my balloon came down gradually, and I was not hurt a bit, but I found myself in the midst of a strange people, who, seeing me come from the clouds, thought I was a great wizard. Of course, I let them think so because they were afraid of me, and they promised to do anything I wished. Just to amuse myself and keep all the good people busy, I ordered them to build this city, my palace, and they did it willingly and well. Then I thought, as the country was so green and beautiful, I should call it the Emerald City. And to make the name fit even better, well, I put green spectacles on all the people, so they actually thought they were seeing green. You mean, isn't everything in here green? Asked Dorothy. No, not more than in any other city, replied Oz. But when you wear green spectacles, well, everything looks green to you. The Emerald City was built a great many years ago, for I was a young man when the balloon brought me here, and I'm a very old man now. But my people have worn green glasses on their eyes for so long that most of them think this is really an Emerald City. And it certainly is a beautiful place with jewels and precious metals and every good thing that's needed to make one happy. And I've been good to the people and they like me. But ever since this palace was built, I have shut myself inside and not seen any of them. One of my greatest fears was the witches. For while I had no magical powers at all, I soon found out that the witches were able to do wonderful things. There were 4 of them in this country, and they ruled the people who lived in the north and the south and the east and the west. Now, fortunately, the witches of the north and the south were good, and I knew they would do me no harm. But the witches of the east and the west, well, they were terribly wicked. And had they not thought I was more powerful than themselves, they would surely have destroyed me. As it was, I lived in deadly fear of them for many years. So you can imagine how pleased I was when I heard your house had fallen on the Wicked Witch of the East. When you came to me, I was willing to promise anything if you would only do away with the other witch. But now that you've melted her, I'm ashamed to say I can't keep my promise. Well, I think you are a very bad man, said Dorothy. Oh, no, my dear, I'm a very good man. I'm just a very bad wizard, I must admit. Well, can't you give me brains? Asked the Scarecrow. Oh, no, you don't need them. You're learning every day. A baby has brains, but it doesn't know much. Experience is the only thing that brings knowledge, and the longer you are on Earth, the more experience you are sure to get. Yeah, well, that might be true, said the Scarecrow, but I shall be very unhappy unless you give me brains. The false wizard looked at him carefully. Well, he said with a sigh, I'm not much of a magician, but if you come to me tomorrow morning, I will stuff your head with brains. I cannot tell you how to use them, however. You must find that out for yourself. Oh, thank you, cried the Scarecrow. I'll find a way to use them, never fear. Well, how about my courage? Asked the Lion anxiously. Oh, you have plenty of courage, I'm sure, answered Oz. All you need is confidence in yourself. Why, there's no living thing that is not afraid when it faces danger. True courage is in facing danger when you are afraid, and that kind of courage you have plenty of. Well, perhaps, but I'm scared just the same, said the Lion. I shall be really unhappy unless you give me the sort of courage that makes me forget that I'm afraid. Well, very well, I'll give you that sort of courage tomorrow, replied Oz. How about my heart? Asked the Tin Woodman. Why, as for that, answered Oz, I think you are wrong to want a heart. Makes most people very unhappy. If you only knew it, you are in luck not to have a heart. Well, that's a matter of opinion, said the Tin Woodman. For my part, I will bear all the unhappiness without a murmur, if you will give me a heart. Well, very well, answered Oz meekly. Come to me tomorrow and you shall have a heart. I've played wizard for so many years, I may as well continue to play it for a little bit longer. And now, said Dorothy, how am I going to get back to Kansas? Now we'll have to think about that, replied the little man. "Give me 2 or 3 days to consider the matter, and, well, I'll try to find a way to carry you back over the desert. In the meantime, you shall be treated as my guests, and while you live in the palace, my people will wait upon you and obey your slightest wish. There's only one thing I must ask in return for my help. You must keep my secret and tell no one that I'm a humbug." They agreed to say nothing of what they had learned, and they went back to their rooms in high spirits. Even Dorothy had hope that the great and terrible humbug, as she called him, would find a way to send her back to Kansas. And if he did that, well, then she was willing to forgive him for everything. And that's where we stop. So they uncovered the fact that he was really just an old man. And I'm looking for some pictures to try and show you. Let's see. There are some great pictures of Oz as the big head. I think I had showed you that one before. Now, here is a picture of all of our characters wearing the green spectacles. And there is the little old man, the little old humbug, hiding behind the screen. That's the screen. And a humbug is sort of somebody who's not brave enough to be themselves. So Oz is not a brave person. He was hiding and lying to everybody. He's not a wizard at all. This is a picture of the head from in the movie. There it is. That's what it looks like. And I know I have a picture somewhere of Oz, but I might have to show it to you the next time around. Every year my mother buys me a calendar of the Wizard of Oz since I was a little girl. And every year I take it and I chop it up and save all the pictures. That's a good idea if you ever want to do something like that with your calendars. So I'll have to look for it for you for the next time, because I do have some from the next chapter. Here, of course, is the picture book. And in the picture book, oh, there's a lot more. So this is the one I just showed you, obviously. And then here is when the Tin Woodsman comes at him with an axe. And then he's saying, "Shh, please don't tell my secret." Here's the big head that he used. And he's very upset. There's a famous line in the movie that's also in the book that says, "He's a very good man, just a very bad wizard." And so this was the balloon that he was carried to Oz in. That's how he came into Oz. And here they are again with their spectacles on. So it's interesting, if you think about it, that both the wizard and Dorothy were carried to Oz through the sky. That's how they got there. So it's sort of a magic way that they were carried. They were carried up out of the clouds, and then they landed in Oz. So you'll have to come back to see what happens in the next chapter when our characters go back to Oz again. And remember, he told them that he needs a couple of days to figure out how to get Dorothy back to Kansas, but the other 3 characters get to go back and see what he'll have for them. He says that he can get them brains, courage, and a heart. So come back, and I will see you then. All right. I love you, my little munchkins. There's no place like home.